Hello, everyone, and welcome to the talk show Let's Design, powered by Cindrebay. So, what is Let's Design? The show where we meet the designers from fashion fraternity. So, today we have with us Ms. Divya from Bombay, who runs her own fashion brand by the name of So You. Let's welcome Divya. Hi, Divya.
Hi Poonam, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining in and sharing your journey with us. The students are really going to benefit, and I'm so excited. So, Divya, why don't you tell us about yourself, your journey, and a little bit about So You, your project, your baby?
Sure. So, starting taking you through a throwback about how and why I got into this field. It was mainly because as a growing kid, I was quite fat, and at one point of time in my life, I weighed 90 kgs, and that's when I used to go shopping. Like kids when they're growing up, they're super agitated. So back in those days, when I used to go shopping, I wouldn't get anything that I used to really like. I just had to adjust with what was available. And this had all happened because of I got typhoid and I had started putting on weight after the medicines that I took. So whenever I would go shopping with my sister, she was very thin. She would put her hand onto something and it would be hers. Whereas me, I had to just be with what was there. And that's when this whole thought crept in that I should probably, when I grow older, I'll design something like this for me, I'll make something like that for me, even for the girls out there who are like me, who do not get to wear what they really love. So that's how that thought crept in. But then of course life happened, we moved on, I got into the accounting field, I have completed my graduation in accounting and finance. It's a very drastic change to this field, but I think it's a very wise decision that I took, because back then firstly, in any business, accounts is a very important role that plays in any business. So I did my graduation in accounting and finance, post which I happened to join my dad also in his software field. But while I was working with him, I was still trying to figure out what I really wanted to do and I was really passionate about. I come from a very techie background. I am from the IT field. I've been a project manager, software tester, a business development, and a marketing executive head. So I've done all of that. But then while I was working with my dad, I decided to go ahead and do my further studies. That's when I decided to, get into a field that I was really passionate about. And my friends by me, they were all getting into either MCOM or MBA. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like the rest of y'all. I want to do something that will make me stand out from you guys. So that's when I was contemplating between designing and photography. Photography, why? Because I'm a nature lover and I love nature photography. But then the fat kid in me reminded me about how much I wanted to get into designing, and that's how I started my field in this. I started my career in this field, I should say. So that's when I decided to do my postgrad in fashion designing. Started as a freelancer in 2014. I also worked with well-known Indian designers back then because I was very limited to the knowledge I had before joining them. And from my field, from my family background, there's nobody who was into this field, and it was either they are into the IT sector or they're doctors. And I was like kind of restricted to the knowledge that I had. So I wanted to go there out, explore what my things are, what I should be doing, and what are the things that are better that would make me better in this field of mine. So that's when I went ahead, did a job with these well-known Indian designers, and I started working after. And in 2016 March, I happened to launch my own brand, which was earlier called by a different name. I recently got the name changed to So You. And yeah, that's been my baby. It's been my journey so far. I started off with my very first order from a client from the States. And that was again a win-win thing for me, because the very first order coming from the States, and then that's how I got international. I till date have been serving about 11 countries all over the globe, including India, and of course, planning to increase my bandwidth even further. So that's a little pretty background about me.
Lovely, lovely to hear that, Divya. So I'm so intrigued listening to your story, especially, you're not really traditionally coming from the fashion, and very late in your career, you actually thought of doing a post grad and finally making it your niche. So what is your creative and designing process? I'm really keen about that.
So I am, because of having clients all over the globe, I haven't restricted myself to keeping it only to Indian or Indo-Western outfits. I also do a lot of Western outfits. So yes, I specialize in bridal Indian and Indo-Western fashion, but it's also about Prêt and Haute Couture. So I'm majorly into couture outfits. So it's majorly made to measure outfits and customized outfits. But when there are, so I also participate in a lot of exhibitions, but since the last 2 years since COVID hit, I haven't really been able to do so. Since then, I got more into the customized thing. Otherwise, I usually have my collection ready for the same. I recently have also come up with my new spring summer collection, which is again all about Indian, Indo-Western and Western outfits. So that's, yeah.
All right, all right. So if you can tell me, because this will really benefit the students, that how did you actually, curated your entire workshop, so to say? I mean, how many, designers or tailors or, the laborers, if I can say so. So what is your manpower? What is your strength? What was the entire, journey of that, basically?
So when I started, I was honestly very clueless. I didn't know what to do, where to go, which tailor is good, with which master. I didn't even know that, first a difference between a master G and a tailor. I thought that, a master G can do everything that a tailor does, and a tailor can do what a master G does. But actually, that's not true. So that's when I learned. I started figuring out. I just jumped into this field. I started figuring things. That's when I found a few people. And so back in 2014, when I started my career, I in this field, I should say, I got acquainted with a couple of tailors, a couple of master Gs, and I was just trying and figuring out, giving them sample pieces to be done. And that time I was just seeing, because I am someone who loves things very perfect, and I do not even like if anything goes wrong. So that is one thing that I was making sure that, while I'm seeing these different sample pieces from different master Gs and tailors, I started narrowing down my panel, and I was like, now I know who I have to work with and what I have to do. And it's not just the master Gs and the tailors, it's also the embroidery guys that you have, your machine embroidery guy, your hand embroidery guy. So there are all of these things that are included in this field. And when I was doing that, I built up a strong fee a strong my family, I should say. I wouldn't call them my laborers, they are my family, because that's how much they mean to me, and because of them, it's me who's functioning so well. So they've been super supportive. I have been working from them since the start, since 2015. I think it was when I completely shortlisted my team and I started working with them. Until date, we are there together. We have been doing things together. They know what my tastes are and how I don't like even a single thread sticking out of a fabric. So they know the kind of finishing that I need in my outfits. I currently own a team of about 14 people. I also have a few people on job work basis. So that's majorly, so when I say job work basis, just to make your students a little better to understand that, it's majorly when you ask people from outside to come and you give them a certain job and you pay them for that much. They are not on your salaried staff. So that is the work that I also get done from. So like there are some hand embroidery guys, because at times hand embroideries can get real expensive. So that is the time when I try and outsource people on job work basis.
So if I can ask you, how did you establish your brand? Like, how did you promote and market yourself?
I started off with smaller exhibitions. So while I was working with these well-known designers, I started seeing they were a lot they were a lot into these exhibitions, and that's how I thought that, even I should start off with exhibitions, because that is where you can. And I didn't own a store back then, and I thought that, reaching out to more people was easier through this specific thing, that, you get into exhibition because you have a lot of walk-in crowd coming in. But I didn't want to jump into a very premium exhibition, because honestly the pricing is quite high. I will not lie on that. So the investment level is quite high. So I thought of starting with smaller exhibitions till I get a hold of what these exhibitions are and how are the different exhibitors that I'd have to deal with. Started doing that, and I should say that, while I was doing that, I of course did not, in these smaller exhibitions, I did not get the ideal output that I wanted and the profits that I was looking at. Because, say for example, a Diwali exhibition, the stalls by me were selling products starting at the range of 20 and maybe till until 1000 2000 max, Whereas me, on the other hand, I had outfits starting only at about 5,000-6,000 rupees. So the kind of crowd that was coming into such exhibitions were of that mindset, and they were not really the spending crowd. But slowly, while I understood, I still decided to continue doing some of these exhibitions to get a better exposure. And then in 2016 November is when I hit into the luxury premium exhibition. My very first exhibition was at World Trade Center at Cuff Parade in Bombay, and call it blessing in disguise. So, but this is in November 2016 when my exhibition was supposed to happen. I was still working with these designers, and I decided to quit my job based on this exhibition because it was getting too hectic for me to be handling my own exhibitions and working for them. So, but thanks, I put in my resignation papers, but thanks to our Modi ji, he decided to announce demonetization in that very month. And this was just 2 days before the exhibition, and my exhibition got cancelled. And then I was like, oh my God, what do I do now? I'm quite a workaholic person. I quit my job. I am not having this exhibition anymore. But then I thought that there's no point panicking. And this exhibition was then postponed to February. And call it blessing in disguise, my stall was almost sold out. And I got a lot of clients from outside of India as well. So I started serving to clients in Hong Kong, in London, in Europe. So that's how this is the exposure that I got. And ever since then, I've been into these premium exhibitions. And they have kind of, helped. And by word of mouth is what really helps. So, your work speaks for you, your designing speaks for you, your attitude speaks for you majorly. Because, if you are not good to people, they are never going to have good memories of you, no matter how excellent your work is. So that is something I truly believe in.
Yeah, you said such a valid point, which is leading me to my next question, Divya, is that, Indian education, all right, if you have to do MBA, there are textbooks behind it, and there are formula based, and there is logics and processes and systems, which are still easier to hone and learn. But in a creative field like yours, what do you think that India lacks in its education system, even if we have fashion designing courses per se?
So I would probably say that, like everybody knows, when you get into a theoretical thing, what you learn in there is definitely helping you in your practical world, but not as much as your practical experiences are. What we study in there is good for building our knowledge, but it is not enough to be seeing the outside world in reality. So what once you jump into the outside world is when you learn how different things are. So I think one thing that should be taught, I wouldn't say that this is should be done, but something that I think could be included in the education system is dealing with the practical world, because that is something that I think really lacks. Like even while I was doing my studies in my postgrad in fashion designing, we were taught different subjects, we were taught different things about how patterns should be made, how cutting should be done, how rendering should be done, what colors should be used, then everything, anything and everything about fashion. But one thing that was lacking was that what we did there was we learned all this, we learned things on paper, like pattern making, all of that was learned on papers. We were later on doing it on the fabrics, but it wasn't like the real fabric that we were working on. And there were even times, so initially when I started in this field, when I would go to my workshop, I would just see my master G cutting, and I'm like, oh, he's doing something so different than what we have been taught. So I think that is something that could be like, the actual practical world, how it works out there, something that should be included in our education system.
Very well said. Yeah. So, what is that, one or two or three or four or five tips which you would like to give to, upcoming students who are really aspiring to be fashion designers? What should be their move? How to go about it? If you can tell us something about that, yeah.
One, no matter how big you get, I think this is the most important thing that I would like to say. No matter how big you get, how good a family background you come from, be it rich or like super rich, remain to be down to earth, because that is which is something that's going to take you far, far ahead in life. Second, that yes, go out there, explore yourself, do whatever you want. You come from a creative field, show that craziness in your creativity, because there are so many people who do not have the skills that you guys have. So what you see, how you vision things as, might not be something that the others could, and not everyone can do that. So you're really blessed, and I think you should take that way ahead. You might make mistakes, but you will learn from your mistakes, and go for it, just go for it. There's so much to learn from your own mistakes, and never stop. There might be obstacles in your way, but I think that's part and parcel of life. Just keep going ahead.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Divya. That was really
Yes,
motivational, and I'm sure that students are going to, take up this little nugget which Divya has given to all of us.
sure.
So one question just popping up right now when you spoke about your international clients and premium quality, exhibitions. What I'm trying to understand is, like fashion designers like you, so how do you create your own space among such retail giants? If we talk about Western outfits, then we have so many retail stores in India, so many big brands, international brands, which are retailers in India now, and even in Indian attire, we have big names already established in places like Mumbai and Delhi, and they're also established everywhere, internationally as well. So how do you make your own space, and is it really worth it? What is there any kind of struggles or challenges which you face being an independent designer?
So yeah, for that, I would say initially it was really tough, but I think there comes a point in life where you get to decide and you get to know who your people are, what your clientele is like. Of course. So one thing that I would like to say here, I am a huge fan of Sabyasachi, and he really inspires me. So that is one thing I look up to, and I wish that I reach his level someday soon. But yeah, that is one thing that, probably I think it's through word of mouth. That's why I said, your attitude speaks a lot more than your work. So once your attitude is set, making a thing in the real world out there, making your own brand, making a stability is something that comes starting from you rather than your clothes. So once that happens, your creativity automatically starts talking. Of course, when I'm saying that, I do not mean that you just make anything out there and just say that, oh, because I'm so cool, my attitude is so good, everything would get sold off. No, your creativity does play a role. Of course, you have to be very creative. You have to be in this field and to fight all of those, because every second person out there is into this field, and you really need to make your way. So word of mouth is one thing that really helps. Second would be marketing yourself well. And I think I should say I'm blessed that because I have been in the marketing field earlier, this has also somewhere helped me in my career in my designing business. So marketing yourself well, knowing how much to save, because every time you, because in our field, like, plays a huge role, because if you don't invest into making outfits, it's not something that you can start selling and start making your own brand. So yes, investment does play a huge role, but make it wisely. As startups, learn to make your investments wisely. Learn to, while you're making that investments, make sure that the outfits that you're creating are worth that thing, are worth getting sold. Just think for yourself, if you were a customer, would you be able to buy this thing for so and so price? So that is how thing you, that's the way, and plus studying your market, around market, and what kind of people you're dealing with is very necessary. So once you have studied the market in and around you is when you can probably progress ahead, and that's when you will sustain.
Nice. Thank you so much for that insight. So now, ending Let's Design today's session, today's episode, Divya, I would like to know that as a fashion designer, how fashionable you are as a person, and do you wear your own designs and sleep in it?
Of course, yes. So that is one thing that I don't, because like I told you, right, back in school when I was fat, I wouldn't get clothes for me. And I used to always think I'll design this for me. So yes, of course, I do wear my own clothes. I also get complimented for it whenever I go out. I love my clothes. I love my designs. That's my baby. So it's quite surprising that, though I'm in this field, my first love is for shoes rather than clothes. So that is something that I am always laughed upon on, but I think that is something that also complements with your entire style. Apart from being a designer, I am also an image consultant and a soft skill trainer. So designing and image consultancy somewhere go hand in hand, because that's how you study and you learn different body shapes and structures and colors. So yes, I love wearing my clothes. I also make sure that, if I'm doing any exhibitions, in exhibitions also I'm wearing my attire and I'm standing in my stall, because once you're comfortable in your own outfits and you're confident enough in it, that's how the world is going to see you. If you are not confident in your own outfits, you're not going to be able to sell them. So it's better you make things that you are confident in and where you can stand a place and you know you can sell that. So I think, yes, that is something very necessary that all the kids out there in this upcoming field should be doing.
And one last question, Divya. Finally,
Yes.
I'm
Please go
actually
ahead.
telling you it's going to be the last question, but I don't know. The every time you speak, and something comes up in my mind. So, what I would like to know, Divya, since you said you are in bridal couture and heavy dresses, so if you can give a few tips that how to maintain these dresses after you have bought and worn and you're done with your occasion, then what do you do as a customer or as a buyer? What do you do with these dresses?
So one for saving them for years ahead. There's this real small Indian dadi ma ka nuska, I should say. So you get these longs, right? So the eatable item. So
The
that is
clothes.
something, the clove, yes, the clove. So that is something you should put into your clothes and wrap it up and keep it properly. And as far as bridal outfits are concerned, or any outfit that have Indian hand embroidery done on it, so the cloves really help, and wrap them up in a malmal kapda. So because that really helps. That malmal cloth is so soft, it makes sure that your outfit is not damaged and the embroidery done over it is not damaged. So that is one thing. Secondly, also try and air out your outfits as and when possible, because just like any other shoes or bags, when they're kept inside for a very long time, they start to rip off and they start to tear. The same thing happens with your clothes. So make sure that once in a while you're removing them out, you're airing them out enough, and then you're packing them properly and putting it back. So these are a few tips I think that could be helpful.
Lovely. Divya, one thing I must say, you're very generous, and you are a true example of sharing is caring. And thank you so much for sharing so much with us, and giving us hope that even after few different careers, fashion designing is something which anyone can pursue anytime if you have the creative bent and if you have it in you, mostly. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
It
thank
has
you
been
so
a
much.
really wonderful. I was enjoying the way you speak, the way you flow. I mean, your creativity and the part of you, which is a designer, was definitely reflecting while you were speaking. So I am
Thank you
truly
so much.
honored that you were there on Let's Design, and it was really insightful for the students also of Cindrebay. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and you're most welcome, and thanks for having me on your show here.
So take care and God bless you.
Thank you. Likewise, and bless you too. You're doing a great job by anchoring also what the way you've made up your questions and stuff. It's really nice, and there's so much to learn from you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you.